What's going on, everyone? It's Tyler Shelton, and this is Coffee with a Bearded Reviewer. Thank you so much for clicking onto this video because this is a very special episode where I get to talk about what I would consider to be the worst movie ever made, not just as as a based on an anime movie, but worst movie ever made cinematically. And this is along the likes of The Room, Last Airbender, definitely the worst ones. But anyways, this is my review for Dragon Ball Evolution, and I have a friend of mine from the anime podcast. So, with that out of the way, let's get started with today's video. Okay, so now we are recording. All right, so here we go. What's going on, everyone? I'm Tyler Shelton. I'm Coffee with a Bearded Reviewer, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. And I have a friend here who is going to talk about the movie Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yo, yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Which I would consider to be the worst movie ever made. I'm not talking about like when it comes to anime, but just movies in general. I will place this one in the top 5 worst movies ever made. And that goes up to the likes of like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the Room, like The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
It's just an overall bad movie. But with that out of the way, how about you tell everyone who you are and where they can find you and
So my name is Mitchell Pittman. I run a anime-based podcast called the Anime Boys Podcast. I am based out of LA. It's me and 3 other friends. We kind of just go on every week and we talk about, life. We talk about how we got into anime, talk about new animes coming out, and then we spend once a week, we'll review kind of like unknown anime movies, and we talk about like, your favorite anime movies. So the podcast, like I said, Anime Boys Podcast is based around, because with me, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this at all, it's like you have a lot of friends that love anime, but they don't know where to start at, and I'm like, they don't need to be super nerds about it, but I'm like, well, let me tell you what's the good stuff. Like, hey, here's all, you skip all the bullshit, I'll skip all the other stuff, you know what I mean? Here's the good stuff. So that's kind of what, the Anime Boys Podcast is really, the past year and a half we've been doing it, has been about. Like, we want people to discover it so they can like find like new animes they can kind of be into. That's the podcast I've been running.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much for being part of this. I'm really looking forward to this, where we just take this opportunity just to bash on the worst movie ever made.
Yeah, and thank you for letting me be on. When you reach out to me and you're like, hey, do you want to review Dragon Ball Evolution? I'm like, you know what? I've been waiting to do an in-depth review on this movie. I've been thinking about it for years since I saw it, and I've been accumulating what I want to say about it, and I'm glad I finally get to today.
Oh, yeah, I feel the same way. So I'm just going to start off with saying that, like, when it comes to anime, some of the animes that hold very dear to my heart, I mean, I've not been like the most biggest fan of Dragon Ball Z, but I've watched it enough to the point that I can understand why it's a good show. I can understand why there's like really good characters, especially Goku, because you actually have like just this vast majority of characters. You get to see you get to see their growth. You get to see multiple story arcs, and there's also other shows such as like Digimon that I grew up on, Naruto. I did some time watching Pokemon, and so like And it was actually not long ago that I just finished up the first season of Full Metal Alchemist, and oh my gosh,
it's great.
It's fantastic.
Well, did you watch Full Metal Alchemist, and did you watch Brotherhood?
I watched Full Metal Alchemist the very first season.
Yeah.
And then after that, I watched the live action movie.
Yeah.
And so very soon, I'm actually going to do a movie night with my best friend that we're going to watch the Full Metal Alchemist movie, which is a direct sequel to the first season before Brotherhood. So wanting to go chronologically here.
Yeah. Nice.
But Yeah,
Yeah, when what you're kind of saying with, growing up on, Dragon Ball Z and like Naruto and things like and Pokemon and Digimon, for me, I said a lot on, the Anime Boys podcast. It's like those shows are like staples, I feel like, of like early like or like, 90s kids. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
the reason they are is because the story and the characters and the development are so, that's why they've lasted. That's why we're still talking about Pokemon today, or talking about Dragon Ball Z and
yeah.
Digimon today. It's because those characters aren't just like a one-time thing. They're like, they last a lifetime.
Hmm.
Like they're able to, like, like I said, there's people, they're still putting out Dragon Ball Z today, and things like
Yeah,
that. It's like because those character developments are so strong within in the story, they last forever.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just said it so perfectly because as I was telling you before is that to me personally, like the shows that I really grew up, like the ones I would consider to be like the best animes I've ever watched was definitely the likes of like the Naruto series, especially Shippuden.
Of
I
course.
mean, the only gripe I had about Shippuden is that they just had way, way too many filler arcs. Way too many.
I don't want to get too deep into it, but yes, that was a huge problem with Naruto, because if you watch Naruto, not Shippuden, uh, season 4 of Naruto, if you do not watch any of it, you don't need to. You're cool. You don't need to watch it. It
Yeah,
doesn't make any
like
sense to the story.
yeah,
So
you don't need to watch it because they're just trying to. It felt like that they were trying to focus more on the characters and not the story itself.
of course, they
But
wanted you
like,
to love. They wanted you to like Naruto more to get you set up for
yeah,
Shippuden.
I mean, I think that's good and all, but the issue is that it's just too much fillers, and it's just kind of like get it over with.
Of
Give us
course,
like
of
give
course.
us the juice. We want the juice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's a studio ploy thing. I've said it so many times where it's like, how long can they stretch it out for? You know what I mean? Like, how
Right.
long can we keep them interested? And then okay, cool, we're gonna hit them with this crazy fight scene. You know?
Yeah. But yeah, so with that out of the way, how about we get started talking about
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Evolution?
Yep, I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Okay.
I'm ready to go.
So I'm just gonna go straight off the bat, and I'm just gonna say that I gave the movie 1 out of 10. The only
Mm.
reason why that I'm giving the 1 out of 10 is just for the uh, the source material that they decided to put into it.
Yeah.
Because like I would say this is how I would put the movie. It's so bad it's good
Mm.
that they're just trying to shoehorn so much in there that they did not give us any time to dive deeper into the characters. But the real pain behind this whole movie is that they tried to develop all these characters, but the movie was not even an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's a lot of people, like, I've seen a lot of reviews on this movie, and that's the one thing they're like, it's not a very long movie. There wasn't any time to make me care about Goku, their
Yep.
version of Goku in this, And if you guys watch the beginning of the movie, there's like this setup sequence of like explaining the backstory. And I looked at that, I was like, I felt like they filmed this movie, watched it, and were like, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense of how they set up the characters like that. We better throw an explanation in the beginning for everyone to kind of make sense of it.
Right. But you know what? One thing that just I think the very thing that just annoyed me the most is that I mean, I'm not really bashing on the actors because I'm pretty sure they did everything they can to
Mm-hmm.
sell the characters. I mean, like I always forget this guy's name, but the guy that plays Goku, like in general,
Uh,
I think he's a good actor.
yes, and I have a funny story about him actually. It's Justin Chatwin. Justin Chatwin's his name.
Thank you.
Yeah. He's not a bad actor. And a really quick funny story. So the place I work in LA, I won't say names and stuff like that, but I'm working at this place in LA, and So for anybody who doesn't know, if anyone sees this, I have a 4-star Dragon Ball tattooed on me. That is for my love of Dragon Ball Z as a whole.
Oh, that's
In
awesome.
general, in general, that's my love. And I'm working at this place, and he comes up to my area that I'm working in, and I noticed that it's Justin Chatwin that actually plays Goku in this movie. And I know that it's him. And I know he's been in a couple other things, but I didn't want to say anything to him because, like, when I'm working, and things like that.
That's cool.
And he goes, "Oh, like, you have a Dragon Ball tattoo?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And in my mind, I already know who it is. And he's like, "Oh, well, I played Goku in the Dragon Ball Evolution movie." And I'm like, "I know." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, it was pretty bad, wasn't it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, that was a pretty bad movie." And he goes, "Well, the one good thing about that." And I'm like, "What was it?" And he goes, "I got to learn a lot of karate in this movie." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll give you that one. That was okay." But in my mind, I'm like, that CGI, like, karate moves that they were doing just didn't look good. They didn't look good whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was another gripe I had with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you got to meet him.
Yeah, no, he was a really nice guy. No, he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
But he also understands that, like, it was a bad movie.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing that he kept himself grounded to realize that the movie was bad. That even he was just willing to admit it.
Yeah, no, yeah. And I felt like it's something like a lot of actors that were in this movie, they're like, "I wish it would just go away." And I'm like, well, once you put it out there, it ain't going anywhere. It's not.
It just went the same way for the Catwoman movie.
Yes, and Halle Berry will never live that down.
Yeah, but you know what?
Yeah.
I to this day, I still remember seeing that clip when she accepts the Razzie Award for Worst Actress.
Oh God, I have not seen that.
Oh, you could probably check it out on YouTube. It is probably like the most hilarious acceptance speeches I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's going like, "Thank you so much for this Razzie Award. Thank you, thank you, thank you."
That's funny.
But yeah, like I was saying before, is that I do think that he did everything he can to sell a good Goku. Yeah. But a lot of it had a lot to do with the writing. It just had a lot to do with the script.
Yeah, and my issue with the writing, and you look at it like this, like, so Dragon Ball as a series, as that, it's like they have all the source material in front of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's not like, it's not kind of like a new movie coming out. It wasn't like a bunch of writers getting together and at the end of the day it was, but it's not like they were writing a brand new story like they ended up doing. And it sucks that they ended up writing a whole new story that didn't really make any sense to anybody. It was like, you have everything. You have so many chapters of a manga that you could pull from. You have an anime that's been out for years, before that. And it's like you decided to make Goku this teenage angst kind of guy.
Yeah.
When he's not like that. You know what I mean? He's just like this, he's just this kid, or this kid who's brought down to earth and doesn't really know anything. He lost his memory, and
he's a character that you can aspire to be, because he's a character that is all about battling. He's all about getting stronger. He's all about, like, being there for his friends. Like, you can definitely see that there's, like, so much good in his character, but you can also tell that he's actually quite stupid.
Yeah, it's because he's naive, because it's like he never wanted to fight to, like, they try to create this, like, love story between him and Chi-Chi. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was like, that wasn't his goal. He didn't know what a woman was. You know what I mean? He didn't know what a girl was. Yeah. When he met Bulma in the anime series, he's like, "Oh, you're a woman. You're the first human I've ever seen, ever." You know what I mean? Yeah. But in this movie, he's just fallen in love with Chi-Chi, and he's like, they try to create this high school thing, which was funny because I'll bring this up really quick. I think the reason they did that, because around in 2009 when this movie came out, the CW and ABC Family became really big. So they saw all those, like, let's make every character a teenager. Let's make them, fall in love. They were like, okay, that works for everything else. Let's just throw that in. Let's throw that in Dragon Ball Z.
You
Which
nailed
makes
it
no
there.
sense. It makes no sense.
It doesn't.
It makes no sense. I'm like, this is not Dragon Ball Z. This is not what I fell in love with.
I think the only character that I like was the vein that came from Goku's forehead.
Oh yeah, that was his one big acting. And yeah, like you kind of brought up, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's just not in this movie. He just could not deliver good lines. He couldn't deliver any good lines.
Well, and the crazy part is that anytime you see Goku look like he's about to get so mad, but every time when he does that face, it looks like he's about to crap himself.
Yes, that
he's
like this.
Like
it's called It's so bad. I mean, like I said, Justin Chatwin, he's a great actor. He's doing a couple of things. Like I said, I felt like it was bad writing, bad directing, which is funny because James Wong directed this movie and he's done really good stuff.
Yes, he's done so much good stuff. He's even done Aquaman.
Yeah, and that's so funny when I didn't know that he directed it up until probably earlier this day because I did a little bit more research. And James Wong directed this. I'm like, yo, I love X-Files. He did a lot of X-Files episodes back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
He did, there's that horror movies that came out.
The Conjuring.
The Conjuring. He did a Conjuring episode, or the movie, and then he did Aquaman. Great films.
Yeah.
Great TV series. And
he's a fantastic director.
And I'm like, what was wrong with this stuff? Like, the CGI was terrible. This was terrible. It's like, I just could not put it on there. I'm like, I don't know what, I feel like when you make a movie or you make a series, there's got to be a bunch of stuff that locks together. You got to have great director, great writer, great this, great that, and the movie comes together. I felt like they just missed the mark on every single mark. It was just really bad.
But you know what? I do think that there was at least one actor that I thought that was like the only highlight of the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Was I always forget his name, but he's a seasoned actor, but he's the guy that played the bad guy.
He played Piccolo. It was James Martris.
Yeah. And you know what?
James Martris.
And you know what? I thought he did a pretty good job just being like a good bad guy. Like
that was good. That was the one thing I felt like they wrote into this movie that kind of like made sense.
Yeah.
In a way. Yeah. Like I said, and when we were kind of talking about I brought up a little earlier, like storyline compared to the manga, it didn't make sense. Like King Piccolo only, he wants to take over the Dragon Balls, which is accurate. But then they say in the movie, like, oh, the eclipse has to happen at a certain time, and then this happens. Now, being a Dragon Ball Z lover, that did not happen. That was not a thing. That was not a thing. But yes, agreeing with you a little bit, Piccolo was probably the only redeeming part of this movie. There could have been more of him. I felt like they could have dived into his character more. And the way they had him propped up and like the way he looked like a Smallville character. He looked like, and that's where I was like, oh, they're just pulling from the CW back in that day where it's like, oh, well, the CW's not using this prop. Let's just throw it on Piccolo in this movie.
Yeah. But either than him playing Piccolo, everything else is just so bad. Like, not only you got like the likes of like other characters such as Goku and Piccolo, but there was also the grandfather. And you know what? I think the very weird part is that I really do think that when the grandfather gave Goku the Dragon Ball, he's like, okay, a Dragon Ball. Thanks, Grandpa.
Yeah, that was something that was really funny. Like that also compares to his bad acting in this movie. He accepted. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like getting a Dragon Ball is a very incredible moment. Like it should have been like, are you really giving me a Dragon Ball?
Yeah.
Like, it should be like a eye-opening experience for Goku because he has a Dragon Ball in his hand. Because not anyone in the world of Dragon Ball would be capable of using a Dragon Ball. Like these are like rare relics of their history. Like they just the grandpa just gives it to him, and it just feels like it had no
No,
momentum.
it has no like sustenance to it a little bit because
Yeah,
it's, like I said, in the show, the Dragon Ball is this almighty thing that's like, you get granted a wish, you get one wish, uh, and then the Dragon Balls separate. Like you have to gather them all together, you
yeah,
make a wish, whatever the wish is, you can do whatever, and then it separates.
yeah,
Uh, and then in this movie, I felt like they didn't set up as the Dragon Balls being this almighty thing. That was more of like, let's focus on Goku being this teenage angst person.
mm-hmm.
They really worried about that. They were like, oh, he's just not going to care about it. But then he'll learn to be like, this hero. And it was like, I felt like that's what they were trying to like show a little bit in that scene. They were just like, oh, we're just going to give it this almighty power. And then he doesn't care about it. And I'm like,
Right.
come
Yeah,
on. You know what I mean?
like why? Why?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think my ultimate gripe is just the whole concept that they did for the Kamehameha wave. Like, oh,
Yes.
dude, that part it drove me crazy because the Kamehameha wave is not a healing move. Like, especially
that was so weird that they did that.
yeah,
It didn't
like
make
because
any sense.
I mean, like what when we see Goku use the Kamehameha wave for the first time in Dragon Ball, the the original series, like it was such this big like what just happened? Like all the
Mm.
characters, they're like, you actually did the Kamehameha wave because this is like one of them like top tier moves that not that many people could use.
Yes, and I also didn't like how when Roshi was really explaining the like the Kamehameha or Kamehameha wave, however you pronounce it, but it's like he made it into this like air bending type of thing. He's like, oh, we got to do this, you got to do that. And I'm like, no, you put your hands together and you shoot the power blast, the key blast out at them.
Yeah,
And then there's times when it doesn't look as like menacing, it doesn't look as like, strong and powerful, and then it heals Goku, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Because
yeah,
me as a young kid, when I was firing a Kamehameha at my brother, pretending to, I didn't want to heal him. In my mind, I'm like, yo, I'm shooting a powerful beam at him, and it's like
yeah.
it's got to hurt him. Yeah.
Like it's not heal pulse; it's a full
No.
on hyper beam. Like
Yes.
this is a move that is meant to hurt. It's not meant to heal. And so that is like the ultimate gripe that I had about it, just because like make up your mind, is it meant to be destructive or is it supposed to be healing? And so like but when it comes to the source material, it's supposed to be this most destructive move that is like the most signature thing that Goku uses, especially when he gets into his gold hair god mode. Like it becomes something so much more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But like even the fight scene between Goku and Piccolo, and in the very end of the movie, that you see Piccolo beat him down. He takes about like 3 punches, and then all of a sudden he's like, "I am the Almighty. I'm going to use the Kamehameha wave now." Now he's like the master of everything. Like that doesn't make any sense. That's not how
it makes no sense, and it yeah, you hit it around the mark. It just made no sense. Like I said, that's just like really bad writing, and it's just really bad execution of a scene, and yeah, like I said, I agree with you 100%. It just made no sense at the end of the scene. And as like, if they it wouldn't have made sense if he had gone like Super Saiyan in this, but I felt like it just needed a little bit of something. It needed something else to do, to make me care about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I did want to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
How would you like, if you were to tell someone about this movie, how would you tell them what this movie is? And like, I'm assuming that you might give this movie like a 0 out of 10.
I do give it a 0. I give it a 0, and it's funny. I told friends about this movie, and I'm like, "Yo, Dragon Ball Z is one of my favorite. Dragon Ball Z is one of my favorite, animes, mangas ever." Because I remember running home from first grade, wanting to just catch Frieza and Goku fighting, and then they put out this terrible movie, and it's like I tell them like, yo, if you want to watch a good laugh, you want to have a good laugh with your friends, and you got a group of homies together, and you're just having a good time, watch this movie because it'll be a good laugh. It'll be nothing like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
But that's what I would tell people. It's like, if you're ready for a good laugh, watch this movie.
Yeah, I will be the same way. Like, I've actually done this before. I've done this movie night with a few of my friends. This was probably like last year or something that we did a movie night where we would watch some of the worst movies ever made, and we would just make fun of it.
Yeah.
But from the last time that I watched the movie, there was actually one other thing that I noticed about this movie is that they tried to do at least one little like humorous moment that was actually meant to be like actual source material to the character of Goku. Is that he is a big foodie.
Yes, that is something that
and
was
so
really like
he's out, and so he's out in the street. He's talking to the girl that he's in love with, and all of a sudden you see him holding onto a chicken drumstick, and he's eating it, and then you don't see it again. Like, where did he get that, and why is it there? And just a little bit after that scene, he goes, "Wait, I smell him." And then that's one of the other gripes that I have. I mean, like, Goku is actually very good when it comes to his senses. And so, like, he's meant to know exactly who and where they are. And especially in the moment when he met up with the girl that he's in love with in the academy area. And then they start going on their journey to take care of the whole business. That she fights a clone of herself, and Goku punches the real one. And I'm like, did you just say that you could sense someone? So how could you not sense her?
That was a really weird scene because in Dragon Ball, kind of the lore of everything, like Goku, especially because he's a Saiyan, when he gets his power, they're able to sense other, beings. They can tell who's coming, who's not coming by their power levels.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, but in the movie, you've been able to do this, you can do that, but you can't sense who the different person, because in this movie, there's some like weird shapeshifter things. I don't understand that either, but like I said, you agree with that. Like, it's like, it didn't make sense. It's like, you can't sense this thing. You can sense this one thing, but you can't sense that,
Yeah. I mean, it's just really all about showcasing who the character is, and you need to follow through with it, because you cannot just like say one thing about a character and then just like forget about it for the rest of the movie. Like, it's part of the character, so you need to stick with the characteristics. You need to stick with the traits, or else it's just going to be just this complete wrecking ball of a movie.
Yep. No, 100% agree with you on that. And you know what's crazy? Like, and I want to hear your opinion on this too. Like, do you think if this movie like just had everything better together, it could have been better? Like, I ask friends this all the time. Like, they could make an Avenger movie look really cool. You know what I mean? They can make a Marvel movie look really cool. Why can't they make a Dragon Ball Z movie look really cool?
Well, to your question, I do think that I think it just comes down to this. I think there are particular anime shows that will never work in live action.
Yes, agree with you on that.
But like, when you look at the likes of like Sonic, I mean, it's based on a video game, but after the creative people went like, oh, wow, everyone doesn't love this design of Sonic, so they listened, and so they recreated the whole design of Sonic, and he looked
Yeah.
way better.
Yeah. No,
And
of course.
so,
Yeah.
and then you got the likes of like the Detective Pikachu movie, and you know what? That worked.
That worked. Yes.
So like I'm saying before, is that I really do think that not all anime shows will work all the time when it comes to live action. But you know what? If it's done right, I really think that we could get a good Dragon Ball movie, as well as I do think that we could probably get a good Naruto series.
Yes.
Because one thing that I actually heard that we are going to get the live action Naruto series,
I've heard
but
that. Yeah.
I'm just really hoping that they make the Naruto series feel like it's going to be kind of like given the Harry Potter treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe they should go with specific actors who are kind of like a little bit young, like what they did with the whole cast of Harry Potter. Start off maybe with like 10-year-olds and then go for about like 6 movies and you watch them grow up.
Yes, I agree with you on that, and it's really funny. I tell one of my friends this all the time. I'm like, you know who the worst? There's two really bad fan bases in like, that kind of sci-fi, not sci-fi, but like a, anime world, type of thing. It's Star Wars fans
Oh
and
yeah.
anime fans. They are
Mm-hmm.
the worst fans to please ever. So if they don't see something that they like, they will trash a movie together.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like this movie that we're talking about, like Dragon Ball Evolution, has set us up for terrible things. It's like, okay, if any movie does not stick to the plot in this and doesn't make any sense, it's garbage. We're gonna talk about it or talk badly about it on the internet. And a studio will just see that and be like, we're never gonna make an anime movie. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
I think the real nail in the coffin with this whole movie is that it was dead right from the beginning because like they even tried to set up another movie for this one with an end
Yep.
credit scene with
Mm.
Piccolo going like, "Oh, Piccolo is alive." Who cares?
Who cares? Yeah, it's like I felt like, and at the time, I think Avengers had come out already, and they were doing those like end credit scene type things. I felt like
Yeah,
they were trying to build this like giant conglomerate of like movies,
yeah.
and you already messed up, and I felt like you knew you messed up
Hmm.
because it's funny like what I learned. So Akira Toriyama, who is the creator of Dragon Ball, he actually hated this movie so much that's why we got like Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, and we got Dragon Ball Super that's come out already. Like
Mm.
those things came out because he was so upset. He's like, okay, I haven't made anything Dragon Ball Z since like early 2000, like 1999.
Wow.
I've got to come back. And so when Battle of Gods came out in 2015, that was because of Dragon Ball Evolution that came out in 2009. He was like, okay,
Hmm.
I can't let my legacy live on with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know
It's
what?
a terrible movie.
And you know what? That's actually the very reason why I'm very excited for Star Wars going forward because George Lucas actually came back and he's going to be a creative director, and he's
I will.
not,
I love that too. That's great.
but not only that, he's teaming up with John Favreau, the guy who started the
Who's
MCU.
who is started the MCU and has done great things with the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Because I get so excited with the Mandalorian,
Oh, me too.
and it's because, like I said, Star Wars fans are the worst to please. They are. Like when when George Lucas created Phantom Menace, it was a brand new story. Fans didn't like it because I think the prequels are great. Personally, that's me. I'm saying it on record here. I love the prequels I love prequels. They're great. But
Yeah.
when he made the Phantom Menace, it's a whole new, brand new story. People hated it.
Yeah.
People did not like it. So episode 2 and 3 were like very cookie cutter. Like, okay, we're just gonna like reference the other ones. And then
Yeah.
episodes 7, 8, and 9 are pretty much cookie cutters of 4, 5, and 6. It's like, okay, you don't want brand new stories, but you hate us when we do, the same thing. Okay, we'll give you the Mandalorian, which is like a middle of both. So I'm
Yeah.
glad maybe Jon Favreau and George Lucas will come together and they'll make something great.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you also got the likes of um, Dave Filoni, because he also
Yep.
he did the animated series.
I watched there's like a whole docu-series kind of on, The Mandalorian, and he is probably one of the biggest Star Wars nerds I've ever like seen
Oh
on
yeah,
camera. Oh,
yeah.
it is insane.
Like,
I'm like, his attention to detail is perfect.
oh, I couldn't agree more. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I really think that he could be like Star Wars' new George Lucas, because like he was
He could,
actually his mentor was George Lucas.
yeah,
So,
yep,
like
yep,
he knows he knows the universe. Like he
yep,
knows what to do. And I'm
yep.
like, get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, let him
Oh,
become the head of Lucasfilm.
get her out of there. And then, you know what? Disney, come in and let's redo Dragon Ball Z. Like, let's make a good Dragon Ball Z
Exactly.
series. Yes, that's, like I said, that was like the problem with this movie. It's like it didn't have all the right people there. And hopefully one day a company will come in and be like, okay, like I said, with Star Wars. Like, you can make a badass Star Wars movie. And, like I said, no matter the issues I have with like episode 7, 8, 9, I'm just glad I'm watching a Star Wars. You know what I mean? I'm glad I'm able to go to a movie theater, when I could pre-COVID.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm watching Star Wars on the big screen, and it's not terrible, But when I watch,
like
when I watch Dragon Ball Evolution, I'm like, I'm not happy to see Dragon Ball Z on the big screen. I'm not excited to see it. So I'm like, I hope a company will come in and be like, all right, let's bring it to life.
Like maybe they should just need to do like a Mandalorian thing, like do something very small scale.
Yeah, and put it on Crunchyroll or a smaller series where it's like, the world won't see it, and just like the true fans.
Or maybe it could be like a Netflix original or
something like that.
Yeah. And so like, with that being said, I actually did want to conclude just with what you were saying about the whole Star Wars thing, is that I really think that having these three fantastic directors, you got Filoni, Lucas, and Favreau, like these are like real nerds. Like they are the
nerds of nerds.
Like,
yes,
they know their stuff.
Yep.
And so like when it comes to like having an anime movie based on anything, that you need to have someone who actually knows those shows.
Yeah,
knows the manga.
They understand everything. Yeah.
And so like, I mean, I have nothing against James Wan because I think he's a fantastic director.
Yep.
But I just could not believe that it was directed by James Wan. Like, what?
Yeah, and but James Wan, fantastic director. And it also comes down, you can only do so much with like directing in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's gotta be your writing. It's, like I said, it's gotta, if because, I do a lot of music stuff on the side, right? Like, and I work with artists and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And producers as well. It's like a producer can only do so much. If that song that the person has like created is not good, there's only so much that person can do with it. You know what I mean? Totally. So it's like James Wong is like, all right, I was given this pile of garbage, that was written. Let's do our best. You know what I mean? Let's do our best with what we got.
And you know what? I'm pretty sure James Wong did everything he can to make at least a decent movie. I'm pretty sure he knew that he was about to do a very crappy movie.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure he was just doing everything he can to make it.
I'm glad it did not end his career, though. I'm glad it did not end his career. Yeah.
Oh. But
that would have been bad.
There's at least one director that I think their career ended because of an anime.
Which one?
The Last Airbender.
Oh,
M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night. It's so funny when you say that. I can never pronounce his name growing up, so I would always call him M. Night Shyamalan. Right, that's how I pronounced it. But yes, the Airbender could have in his career, and I have not seen a good movie by M. Night Shyamalan, or however you pronounce it. But he's created so many great things before that. I feel like he'll always be that timeless character.
Yeah, but
personally for me.
I do feel like that he's probably climbing his way up just a little bit, especially with the movies that he's come out in the last few years, especially
Hmm.
when you look at Split. I thought that was a good movie.
Split was a great movie. I felt like that was
And
greatly directed.
I thought Glass was not bad.
I didn't see the Glass is the one that has them all like joined together, right? Where it has like
Yeah.
for Bruce Willis's character. I
Samuel
can't
L.
think of the other guy's
Jackson,
name. Samuel L. Jackson. Then whoever played, he played
James
the
McAvoy.
professor. Yes, yeah, yeah. I didn't get to see that one. I haven't seen that yet, but I heard it was really good. One of my roommates
Yeah.
actually, he said it was a really great movie. But yeah, you said you building your way, and I said James Wong did that. Dragon Ball Evolution could have killed his career, but
Hmm.
with The Conjuring and with Aquaman, it brought him back. Like, yo, James Wong is actually a
Yeah.
really great director.
Oh, absolutely. And so, with that being said, is that I do think that The Last Airbender is just another one of those really bad movies ever made. But and you know what? I think that's kind of like the very issue that both The Last Airbender and Dragon Ball had, is that it felt like that they were too Americanized. It felt way too much of like whitewashing. Like,
They were, yes, they were way too whitewashed in a way, and it was like I felt like they were like, okay, we have this, like I said with Last Airbender, everything is out there for you. All of the source material is there for you to take from.
hmm
You could copy it pace by pace, and I wouldn't be mad.
yeah,
I wouldn't be mad. I'll be sitting in a movie theater and watch Last Airbender and be so happy that you copied scene for scene. Um, but I feel like as a director, they're like, oh, I'm gonna take this in my own direction, or as a writer as well, they're like, I'm gonna take this in my own direction. I'm like, no, don't do that. I don't want you to do that. You know what I mean? Like, don't take it in your own direction. I get it. You're creative. You do all this cool stuff.
yeah,
Like, stick to the stuff that we love. Like,
yeah,
take my money. Like, take my money. I want you to stick to the cool stuff. Take my money, please.
yeah.
But stay true to what it is.
But yeah, with that being said,
Yeah.
you and I, we completely agree that this
Yep.
is a
It
very
was.
bad movie. And so, with that out of the way, I just wanted to ask you that we can end our video with a more cheery note. And how about you give me your top 5 favorite animes that you've watched in your entire life?
Ooh. All right. All right. This is a good one. All right. So we are going to go top 5 favorite animes. So Dragon Ball Z will always be at the top. Dragon Ball Z has been one of my
Okay.
favorites. I grew up with it. I said a lot on my own podcast. As my uncle, he ran a card shop. Uh, like a anime or like a card thing. So you always come home and you bring me the cool stuff. So Dragon Ball Z was top favorite. Then I'm gonna go with Naruto. Naruto was
Okay.
always just one of my top favorites. I grew up with it,
Mm,
and like I said, Naruto. I caught Naruto late a little bit, but like I said, it's top favorite. Then it's gonna be One Piece. I'm not sure if you watch One Piece at all. Um,
I watched a little bit of it.
so I'm all caught up, 1,000 episodes. Don't ask me how long it took. It was 6 months. It was 6 months. It took me 6 months
Oh,
to catch.
dang.
A thousand episodes took me 6 months to watch.
Wow.
So One Piece, and then I'm gonna go with, it's gonna be a weird one. Yu-Gi-Oh.
Mm,
So I don't know if you consider Yu-Gi-Oh a anime. I do personally. It's a very Americanized anime, for what it is. And
yeah.
then that was One Piece. So Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh, and then one of my other favorites was. Now I gotta think. I gotta think about this. It's got me thinking. And then I'll just go. These are classics, you know what I mean. But one of my top favorites I'm watching right now is this anime called Jujutsu Kaisen, which is really good.
Hmm.
Uh, but one of my favorites of like all time, it's got to be like Digimon, like a classic one. Those will always be sit at the top 5 of
Yeah.
what I love. And there's a lot of
Okay.
other animes in there that I've watched, and I love.
More kind of like
But those are
honorable mentions.
honorable mentions. Is Jujutsu Kaisen, which is great. It's a new good one that's coming out now. You guys, it's on Crunchyroll. Doctor Stone is really really good. That's like about like a scientist who he gets thrown into the like distant future and everyone turns to stone. It's really cool.
Like,
Then Black Clover. Then Black Clover is also really good.
that's a good one.
Hmm. Yeah, those are my top fives.
Okay. And there's actually a couple that is in your top 5 that will be in my top 5 as well.
Mhm.
So I grew up watching Naruto, so that one is definitely among like one of my favorites. And I'm kind of cheating here, but I would also include the Boruto series since it's part of the Naruto series.
Boruto is amazing on a whole nother, like, personally for me, it's an amazing on another level.
Yeah, and I just really love seeing Naruto being the Hokage because that was like the main plot of the entire series for him to become
Oh, and
Hokage.
he finally did it.
He finally did it. And so it's just absolutely just so great to see him being Hokage because I grew up my entire life watching this show, and it finally happened when they came out with the last one movie. They finally show us that he's fully grown up. He's getting married to Hinata,
Yep.
and he's Hokage, and he has 2 children. One that has the Byakugan, and the other has his spazzy.
Yeah, it's got like his inks and everything like that.
Yeah, and
I can go on for an hour about Boruto.
oh, me too.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Naruto is my top 5, and there's also this might be it might be something of an unpopular opinion these days, just because it's just almost kind of like going a little bit too much like into Cheese Town, Pokemon.
Mhm. And I didn't mention that, and I thinking about it after you started talking about yours. Pokemon. I grew up on Pokemon. I remember my dad taking me to Mewtwo, first the Pokemon the movie, and then Pokemon 2000, and then when they put out the third Pokemon movie with Entei.
Mhm.
I grew up going to the theater and watching Pokemon and just collecting the cards and everything like that. Pokemon was such a huge part of my life.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Pokemon. It's just one of those properties that will never go away. Like
Yeah,
it, it,
it
not
it's
only
kind
that.
of like Dragon Ball Z. They tried to take it away from us with Dragon Ball Evolution, but it ain't gonna go away. It ain't gonna
Yep.
go away.
But you know what? They cannot. I personally think that Detective Pikachu is the greatest example of how to do a video game movie.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. And it's like those people could just take that idea, get those writers, those animators, and put them into like a Dragon Ball Z movie, or maybe like a One Piece live action or a Naruto live action. I know we're gonna get that eventually, but
Yeah.
if they could just take it into those things and like do things like that, uh, we be having a different conversation, maybe about a different movie.
Yeah. But I think another very important reason why that movie was so successful, Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah, it had the big names behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's Naruto, Pokemon, and you know what? I think I would have to include Digimon just because I
Of
grew
course.
up I stopped watching it when I was probably like 13 years old.
Yeah,
But I absolutely loved the first 2 seasons. Like
of course.
every single day I would watch that show first thing in the morning on Saturday with my best friend. And like Digimon, I'm all like, I'm there. Like
Yep.
I had to watch it, or I
I
would.
carried my Digivice around forever. You know what I mean? Like I had a Digivice that you could buy at like Toys R Us or Walmart
Oh,
or
that's
Target,
cool.
and I carry that thing around everywhere. So,
Okay, and
yeah.
then you know what? The one that I am in process of watching, I would include Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes. Definitely forgot. Definitely totally forgot about that.
I mean, I'm still in process of watching the entire series, but the fact that I
It's
mean,
so good.
I already finished up watching the first 51 episodes, and then I'm gonna watch the movie that is the sequel to it, and then
Mhm.
I'm gonna go into Brotherhood, and I think that's 4 that I did, isn't it?
Yeah, you got one more.
One more. Okay, so oh man,
Hard. That last one is hard. That last one is hard.
yeah. You know what? I would consider this one to be kind of like a guilty pleasure, just because I just thought it was hilarious.
Mm.
Uh, it's called Rosario and Vampire.
Okay, I don't think I've ever heard of that one. I haven't heard of that one.
It's a very interesting show. It's about this young boy who's just a human, but
Hmm.
just I'm sure you've seen Hotel Transylvania, the first one, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in this anime world, that they're it they have their own university where they have like all these mythical creatures such as vampires, werewolves, like it's like all the magical creatures of like kind of like in the horror element. You got this one girl.
Yeah.
The one of the main characters is a girl, and she's like this kind of like naive princess,
Hmm.
but she's a vampire, and then all of a sudden she finds herself falling in love with this human boy who accidentally found his way into this university that was actually meant for monsters.
Yeah.
And it becomes kind of like a love triangle between like her, him, and some of a few other characters. There was like a couple witches that started to have a thing for him, but like
Hmm.
he would just be in the most awkward moments in throughout the entire show. Like they make him look like he's just a bumbling idiot, but he kind of isn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy that one. I mean, like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it is quite grotesque, but just the whole aspect of like the
Yeah.
storytelling, the character development, like it's really good.
Mm. I will have to say you. It's an honorable mention. I wanted to mention this in my list. Anything Gundam Wing,
Mm.
um, I'm 100% behind because I am a super. I love mechs. I love all of that stuff. Anything that's got like mechs, like Zoids back in the day was really good.
How about
There was a new anime,
how about Attack on Titan?
Attack on Titan. Don't even get me started on Attack on Titan. That is one of my favorite animes. It's one of my favorite like newer animes to come out. It's got a great story. It's really in depth. There was a cool story, like
Mm.
line uh with the Titans and everything like that. And it's probably one I mentioned this a couple times on the podcast as well. It's probably one of the animes that a lot of people know that aren't really into anime. Um, I've been in like bars and clubs, and I have like an Attack on Titan T-shirt that I'll wear out, and people will come up to me and be like, "Oh, do you love Attack on Titan?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I do." And we'll be in this club. We'll be in this club that's like, bumping music is just playing all over us. You know what I mean? And we're just sitting there between me and this one guy. We're just talking Attack on Titan for an hour.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I tried watching that one, but this was a show that I was just all like, I just couldn't get through watching the first episode. It just made me feel so icky. It just made me feel the same way when I first watched Breaking Bad. Like,
No, I get you on that.
I think there are particular kind of shows that turn out to be some of the greatest shows ever made, but they are by far like one of the most crazy, bombastic
Well, yes,
shows.
and talking about like mechs and stuff, there's a show called Darling in the Franxx, which is like a mech-based anime. I won't dive too much into it because it's like if you can get past a certain element of this anime in a whole, it's great. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like they have a really weird. I won't get into it much because you can spend a lot of time on it, but it's like there's a certain element of it that just is very like, oh, I can't get past the first episode. I don't want to watch this. But if you can get past that, the animation's great, the mech's great. Like I said, Gundam Wing was one of my uh, honorable mentions.
Okay. And actually, I did want to ask you about how about Bebop?
Oh, Cowboy Bebop is a cult classic. You know what I mean? It had one of the best soundtracks ever. That
Yeah,
very
the
jazzy
soundtrack is.
type of thing.
Yeah, you're right. The soundtrack is quite incredible.
And then if you watch earlier animes like that, they have a different style of animation where it's very hand
Oh yeah.
drawn thing. Because if you watch the newer animes, Which, you know, if you look at it like this, right? So older animation, it cost a lot cheaper to do because the way they ran things and did things was
Hmm.
cheaper. New animations, they're like, okay, we got to pump out episodes every week. We got to put out these great, you know, key people, because our, you know, people's attention spans now are shorter. So we got to keep them enticed. So all this filler, like all the episodes, we're gonna just, you know, draw it and make the CG really bad, and then the fight scene will be great. You know what I mean? And the fight scene will be
Right.
amazing. We'll make it cinematic. But in Cowboy Bebop, if you pause any episode, any time in a Cowboy Bebop episode, you can literally see everything that's hand drawn. Like if you pause any time at the spaceship,
Oh yeah.
I can
That one is.
see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That one is just like one of the most detailed animes I've ever seen.
yeah, you can see every valve in the spaceship. You can see everything
Yep.
come together. And like I said, with a great story, a great music, you know, and it was part of that great era of time of like Toonami, which was like, you
Yep.
know, the stuff they played after with like Inuyasha was on there, you know, a bunch of stuff like, but Cowboy Bebop was one of
Inuyasha,
those
I
ones that,
forgot about that one.
yeah, that kind of like, and I didn't watch a lot of Inuyasha, but Cowboy Bebop, like if I pick between the other ones watching it, it was
And
like Cowboy Bebop came on, and then Inuyasha would come on, but like I was still in like, you know, elementary school, so it's like, all right, I can watch Cowboy Bebop because that's me being up late, but then I can't be up that late to watch Inuyasha.
right.
Yeah.
Did you like Bleach?
Bleach is one that I watch off and on, but like I said, if you ask me exactly how it went, I couldn't tell you. I can remember certain scenes, and a lot of my friends give me so much crap about it because Bleach is probably one of the better animes out there.
Mm. Well, thank you for telling me what your top five is, and yeah, when you get the chance, I would definitely recommend that you should check out Rosario and Vampire.
Cool.
It's a unique show. If I
Okay.
remember, I think it only ran for 3 seasons, I think.
Okay.
But
And if I'm gonna leave you with a recommendation, there's two you gotta check out: Darling in the Franxx and Castlevania, which is on Netflix. If you're talking about like vampires and
oh
stuff like
my
that.
gosh, I forgot about that one.
That is great. Watch that one. If anybody listening to this has not watched Castlevania, watch it. And Tyler, you should definitely check that out.
Yeah, I heard that one is quite grotesque.
It is. It's bloody. You know, like I said, a whole nother topic was Netflix has been putting out a lot of good stuff, but Castlevania is one of those ones. You should definitely check it out.
Oh, how about Death Note? Did you watch that?
You know, and like I said, my friends will hate me for saying this, but I didn't. I didn't watch it growing up, and I feel really bad
And
about it.
you know what? I think Death Note, the live action movie, I think that one was another good promo example of how to do an anime. I
But
mean,
that was put on by Netflix. That, you know, had the better writers, the teams, everything was put
yep.
together in the right place at the right
And
time. You know,
you would not believe who played the monster.
William Dafoe.
Yep, Willem Dafoe.
That was a good one. That was a
Yeah,
good one.
I mean seriously, Willem Dafoe. He just
He's a
make
great
him
actor.
just make him be the Joker.
I mean, yes, he should be the Joker. I love him as Green Goblin. He also did well in Death Note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being part of this. I really enjoyed having
Yeah,
a
man.
talk with you about all different kinds of anime, and we
Yeah,
also got to
man.
talk a little bit about Star Wars, which was a lot of fun too.
Which is great. I love.
Oh yeah.
We don't get to talk a lot about Star Wars on the Enemy Voice podcast, which is, it sucks because a lot of my co-hosts, you know, my other co-hosts, I have like 3 of them. They aren't into it as much as I am, and I can dive into that for so long. Like
Mm.
there's parts of it, if you listen to a lot of our episodes, there's times when I'll start talking about it, and then they don't really know, and I'm like, all right, you know, y'all don't know. Y'all don't know
Yeah.
anything about Star Wars.
Well,
Y'all just
actually,
want to talk about anime.
did you see some of the fan-made anime stuff for Star Wars?
Yeah. I've seen a lot. I mean, they had the whole series with, you know, that 15-minute clips of, you know, Clone Wars, which was back in the day,
Yeah.
which was the same guy that did Samurai Jack, which was great. So
Yeah. But yeah.
yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh yeah,
man.
absolutely. And
It's freaking amazing.
how about the next time that we do a video together? How about we try to coordinate and hopefully we can get all of your friends to be part of the next one?
If you're ready for that, now I will say this, and I'm going to say it on here. If Reed, Rose, and Abe, who are my co-hosts, they're listening to this, Abe is he's calm. Reed and Rose, they can get a little wild. If you start talking about something, you get them going, they'll go, man. They'll go for an hour.
All
But
right.
yeah, dude, I would love to have you on one of our episodes. Maybe I can finally get the guys to kind of talk about Star Wars and we can riff about that. I would love it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being part of this. Seriously, I'm really grateful that you got to take some of your time of the day to do this with me. And so
I'm always just chilling, man.
oh yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much. And Dragon Ball Z, 1 out of 10 for me, 0 for 10, 0
Zero.
10 for you.
Zero.
Yep, 0.
There it is.
Yep. Dragon Ball Z Evolution, worst movie ever made.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being part of this. I really appreciate it.
Got you, my man. Thank you so much.
Peace.